I thought that I was neurotically afraid of the big C. I used to walk out of my way to avoid passing a sign in the building that had the word cancer on it. Of course, it didn't help knowing that I was already genetically predisposed to cancer. I mean, even my astrological sign is Cancer, but I keep wondering, why did I get this and what did I do wrong? I used to put those little tablets into my coffee that made it really sweet. Hell, I even smuggled the stuff from Canada when it was taken off the market in the US because it was known as a suspected carcinogen. I smoked and I always liked red candy. Red licorice, jelly beans, lollipops, you name it. Even after I heard that red dye number 2 was carcinogenic, I still went for them. Point is, whatever the American Cancer Society says causes cancer, I have undoubtedly done it. What makes it worse is that I'm the comedian who does Rosanna Dan, and all this stupid stuff, and think it's the most unfunny thing in the world. How could Gilda Radner, whose name was once synonymous with comedy, become synonymous with cancer? What good is that going to do, and how do I make cancer funny? Did you know that over the course of 2020, there's been almost 14,000 cases of cervical cancer? This piece is about a woman who gets diagnosed with cervical cancer at the young age of 40, and all of the bumps along the road of getting a total hysterectomy, going through chemo, and all of the mental and physical barriers along the way. It goes over how she overcomes it and makes good out of bad. This piece is called It's Always Something by Gilda Radner. In the 3 years before my cancer diagnosis, I had begun to change. I had overcame my eating disorders and retaught myself how to eat and left bulimia far behind me. I began exercising daily with tennis lessons and swimming. I even stopped chewing gum. You see, I followed a rigorous anti-cancer diet. I even had an apron that had a big chart on it from the American Cancer Society of all the foods you weren't supposed to eat. I suppose I was beginning to care about my life. You see, I had let stress and pressure run my precious life, and once I finally caught up with it, cancer came along and said, "Hey, remember how you tempted death? Well, here's your opportunity." It is so hard for us little human beings to understand, to accept the fate that we're given. I mean, we get to live, but we have to die. You could drug yourself to death, eat yourself to death, or you could do everything right and be perfectly healthy and then get hit by a car. It is such an act of optimism to get up every day and get through the day and enjoy it without once thinking about death. Everything had happened so fast. Not only were they going to be pumping poison through my veins, but it would involve a total removal of my reproductive organs. When they had told me afterward, I understood the issue was to save my life. There was nothing to say. The ticking time clock was gone. Immediately after the surgery, my doctor came and told me that I would have to go through 9 courses of chemotherapy, 1 every 3 weeks, and that I would begin before I left the hospital once I was strong enough. I lay on my hospital bed November 9th, and like a muppet. It seemed like many other procedures done to me before. I wasn't sick, I was tired. I woke up 36 hours later, weird but wired. During my entire stay in the hospital, I had not once seen my reflection. I walked into my house to see my own reflection in a mirror, and horror came over me. Total horror, because I weighed at only 95 pounds. I had to put a towel at the bottom of my bathtub because when I would try to sit down, my bones would stick out and hit the bottom. I suppose it was the first time I was frightened. The first time fear actually came over me about what might happen to me. What was happening to me? Who was that person in the mirror? Whose image was reflected? Why me? This is cancer. I am only 40 years old and I could die. On some Mondays, Jean drove me to the hospital. I would cry the whole way, screaming and begging to get out, wanting to jump out at the next light and just run across the street. I lay on my hospital bed on those Monday nights, waiting, wanting to jump out the window and go and jump on a plane and fly to Hawaii and just run away. But what would I be running away from? I'd be running away from my cure. The night was the scariest time. I would wake up sweating and out of breath, running from a nightmare that didn't end when I woke up. I would wail like a wounded animal, getting louder and louder, thinking what had happened to me, what I looked like, What could happen? What could be? The night was the scariest time. But one Wednesday, it was raining, and I put on a raincoat and I went outside for a walk. On my street, a car went by and splashed me. I was soaked in mud and started talking out loud to myself. That's me, Cancer Woman. You can do anything you can want to me. I can walk through storms. I can get splashed by cars. I can have millions of treatments. You can radiate me. You can fill me with poisons, but you can't destroy me because I am Cancer Woman. Cancer isn't polite. It doesn't care about your therapy or tennis lessons, or that you've had 2 miscarriages and haven't given up hope. It hits you at stage 4 and gives you a total hysterectomy all in 24 hours. I will never have a baby. But I am still here because I am Cancer Woman. I wanted a perfect ending, but now I've learned the hard way that not all poems rhyme and that not all stories have a clear beginning, middle, or end. The goal is to live a full and productive life, even with all of that ingenuity. No matter what happens, whether your cancer flares up again or whether you die. The most important thing is that the days you've had are the days that you had lived. My name is Jen Gilmer. This is It's Always Something by Gilda Radner.